Good morning, everyone. I hope that this video finds you well. Welcome to week 8. This week, your assignment is the Annotated Bibliography. So, a little bit about the Annotated Bibliography. Basically, it's just a bibliography, a list of sources in a certain citation format in alphabetical order, organized, and the annotations are brief summaries that explain what the source is, explain why it's relevant to your research, includes an example of how it's relevant to your research, and then sort of wraps it all up nicely and moves on. So that's what you're working on this week. So the instructions that we have here say a bibliography is a way to compile all your sources into an easily digestible document that allows your readers access to the sources you've used in your research. Bibliographies are created by using the citation of a source and organizing them in alphabetical order in a document. Adding annotations to the bibliographies gives your readers a glimpse of what the article or source is about without requiring them to read the article in full. So think of it like a mini abstract. If you've already started searching on the databases, then you've seen abstracts. You know sort of that they give you a clue into the article. Some of the articles can be really lengthy. So instead of perusing a 20, 30-page document, you can look at the abstract and go, okay, this seems relevant, or nope, this is not in my field. I'm going to keep looking. So for our purposes, we're going to keep the annotations short, about 5 to 7 sentences. And we'll talk more about the annotations in a separate video. Well, I'll walk you through sort of how to create those and what those should look like. So gathering all your required sources up front before you begin drafting helps in a lot of ways, including ensuring that you've got enough to talk about for the required minimum of 8 pages. A lot of you in your initial survey into the course talked about having trouble writing essays, specifically essays that had to take up a certain number of pages. And I think the biggest reason that we struggle with writing essays with a page requirement is because we don't do a good job up front in gathering sources, gathering a pile of material that we can reach from to put on those pages. If someone says, hey, write an 8-page paper, and you go, okay, and then you open a Word document to do that, well, you've not acquired all of the materials to do it yet. So that's why it's hard a lot of times. And hopefully the way that we have slowly come up to drafting will have allowed you to have acquired all of the materials that you'll need in order to put that information on those pages. All right, so lastly, I think last week we talked about looking for articles in a way like going into a dinner party late, and you've got different sides saying different things, and you're having to listen to what they're saying before you can give your opinion or give your insights into the situation or the topic. So what I mean here, the more people you can pull into conversation with you, so the more articles that you can pull from different sides and speak to those sides, as in having a conversation with the author, the more information you'll be able to include in your research. And to be candid, you will take up more space easier than if you did not have all of the resources that you're gathering now. So we're going to skip this annotation part just for right now, and we'll come back to it in a separate video. But I want to emphasize the difference between A track for the annotated bibliography. So A track and B track, you are both finding a total of 10 sources. The only difference between A track and B track is that A track is annotating 5 sources right here, 5 sources, and B track, you are only annotating 3. Okay, so both of you are finding 5 secondary sources that are scholarly articles from the library databases. I know Haley probably covered this in her videos. If you've not watched the videos on navigating the databases, please take the time to do so because they are immensely helpful. So secondary sources are sources that are written about another text or written about another thing. And primary sources are the actual items or the actual artifact. So let's take, for instance, whatever you found in the archives, maybe a picture of Hurricane Camille. That's a primary source, right? Because it's the actual picture. Now, a secondary source would be an article that was written about that picture. We can take maybe a speech. So the actual speech would be the primary source. And then if someone did a write-up about the speech and kind of talked about how it was really moving and how it was essential for the civil rights movement, that's a secondary source because it's about the speech. So that's a really simple way to differentiate, is this a primary source or is this a secondary source? So for your 5 secondary sources, they need to be about your topic in some way. They don't necessarily have to be about your artifact, but they need to be related to the topic that you are talking about. Your primary source, you only have to have one. You can have more. You can use your 4 free play sources to get more primary sources, but you only have to have one primary source, and this can be your artifact from the archives. I recommend that it be your artifact from the archives because you can use that to jumpstart the conversation that you're going to write about. You can use it to jumpstart your research. In your introduction, it's an easy way to open those doors and go into your topic. But if you feel more comfortable finding a different primary source, then you certainly may do that. All right, and then you have the option for 4 free play sources. So these are, free play just means it can be a secondary source or it can be a primary source. And these can be from anywhere. So as opposed to the 5 secondary sources that should be from the library databases, the 4 free play sources can be from popular sources. So think about Google Scholar, magazines, newspapers, or other credible websites that you have access to via the internet, the web. These can be interviews that you conduct yourself. They can be more scholarly articles from the databases, or they can be more primary sources from the archives. It doesn't really matter. The 4 is open to whatever you want to use them for. Okay, so that should be a total of 10 sources in total. All right, for your annotations, B track, you only have to annotate 3. Okay, so here's your 3 that you must annotate. They're different. You need to annotate 1 secondary scholarly article from the library databases. So from this 5 secondary sources that you found, you need to annotate 1 of them. Okay, then you will annotate your 1 primary source. And guys, you've already written about this for like 3 weeks in our last module. So this one should be very, very easy to do. And in fact, you can go back and look at your analysis and take from that for the summary. That's totally fine because you've already done work on that. You worked very hard on it. And that's something about research, is that a lot of times it has quite a bit of overlap. So use that because that's reality. If you are in your career, you're in your career-based research and you're doing research, that's going to happen, and you're going to be able to use what you've already found, and that's just how it works. So don't worry about anything you've heard about like self-plagiarism or whatever. It's totally fine to do that right here in this class. And then you'll annotate 1 free play source. So whatever source that you want to annotate from the 4 free play sources that you found up here. Okay, so for A track, if you're on A track, you ignore this and you come down here. So this is letting you know you have a different number of sources to annotate. And then A track, you come down here and this is what you should go by for your annotations. So out of the 5 secondary sources you found, you will annotate 2 of them, okay, from the library databases, the academic sources. You will also annotate your 1 primary source. It can still be the artifact. Everything I said for B-Track still goes for you here. And then you'll annotate 2 free play sources from your 4 free play sources you will find. Okay, so I hope that that's clear. If you have any questions, as usual, I'm always an email away. I'll be happy to talk with you about it. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, and I'm definitely happy to talk with you about your research in any way that I can or that you need me to. All right, so let's briefly look at the example. So we're setting it up in our usual MLA fashion. So you have your name, you have my name, the class, and the date written out. A lot of you still aren't doing that as per your analyses. So make sure that this is actually the actual date written. So it should look something like, I don't even know what date it is. I think it's the 12th. You can do it like that, the European way, or you can do it this way. Okay, it just has to look like this. It cannot be this, because that's just not MLA format. And don't ask me who comes up with this stuff. I don't know. It changes pretty regularly. I think we're already on like the 9th edition. So you just keep up with it. It's a necessary evil. All right, so then you come down, you have your annotated bibliography, you put your tentative research title here. It does not have to be in italics. The italics, I put it there just for emphasis. Okay, so this is just a reminder. You'll go ahead and just go straight into your bibliography. You don't have to have a paragraph here, but this is what this is where I'm telling you to remember that they should all be in MLA format. Remember that there is a citation tool on the databases where you find your secondary scholarly articles. And when you Google your popular sources, if you're doing that, there is a citation generator on the MLA website. I think it's owl@purdue.com, and you can use that, and it's pretty reliable. So for the sake of clarity, I think it might be best to single space your citations and then come down and double space your annotations. Now, I'm not going to count off points if you have another way that you do this. This is just something that helps me visually locate the annotation and the citation, just because it can really get kind of clustered on the page. So that's just my recommendation. So as I'm working on this, if this was an assignment that was given to me, I typically just compile all of my bibliographies first, and then I go back and do the annotations last, just because it's easier for me. You do it the way that you would like to do it, and hopefully it'll be easy to do it. Okay, so this is the way that it's going to look visually on the page. Some might be longer than others. Your annotations should be about 5 to 7 sentences. And I'm going to cut the video off here because it's about to cut me off anyway. And you'll watch the next video where I go through how to actually write that annotation. So I hope that this was clear. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns about this assignment. I am available and happy to talk with you. And I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.